Hey, welcome to BNS About Movies. This is Sam. You can find our website at bnsaboutmovies.com or reach out to me at bnsaboutmovies at gmail.com. Wanted to do one more holiday movie before the week's up, and I was wondering which one to cover. There's so many. I wanted to do Prancer because it's directed by John D. Hancock. That's right. The same guy who directed Let's Scare Jessica to Death made Prancer, a movie that most little girls watched in the 90s. It's also a movie The Prancer's fate is left up to you, the viewer. Hancock insisted that either you could decide that Prancer rejoined Santa or commit suicide by leaping off a cliff to his death. That's left to interpretation in a movie for kids. Anyways, he believes that Prancer rejoining Santa is all in Jessica's mind. So the reindeer's dead. And again, this is a Christmas movie for kids. Figured that was a little too dark. So I decided maybe I should talk about Last Stop on the Night Train, aka Xmas Massacre, an Alan Lato directed piece of Italian grime that also went by the titles The Night Train Murders, The New House on the Left, Second House on the Left, Don't Ride on Late Night Trains, Late Night Trains, Last House Part 2. Yeah, whatever Hallmark releasing wanted to put it out. It is one of the darkest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. And even for me, I really think it's better than Last House on the Left. It doesn't have any of the bumbling, stupid cop comedy, and it has a Morricone soundtrack. And it's by the same guy that made Short Late Night of Glass Dolls and Who Saw Her Die, which are also, the most fun, lighthearted Mad Cat movies ever. But you know what? That wasn't good for Christmas. So I'm going to bring up A Visit to Santa from 1963, which is a combination holiday and Pittsburgh movie at the same time. It was made by Clem Williams Films. It's an industrial films company that rented cartoons, movies, and industrials to high schools and colleges. They also were the guys that shot highlight films for the Steelers, Pirates, and other Pittsburgh sports teams and sold their entire inventory to Kit Parker Films in 1985 before Clem went off to Florida. This is the most Yinzer Yuletide holiday movie ever made, and you're not from Pittsburgh. Let me explain Yinzer to you. There's an accent here. It's kind of brought up by the Eastern and Italian European voices here. It's very guttural and it's very strange, and it's a lot of yelling in the blast furnaces of the steel mills where our grandparents grew up. But you say things like down instead of down. You say red up instead of clean. You say gum band instead of rubber band. You also contract words, gonna go store instead of I'm going to go to the store. I am from closer to Youngstown, but still I do say down and a few other things every once in a while. It sneaks out of my accent. So if you ever hear it, that's why I speak like that. It doesn't cover why I mispronounce 90% of the things I say, but whatever. Anyhow, like I said, this is a total Yinzer Yuletide movie. And we're in the home of Dick and Ann as their mom prepares them for bed. And her quiet down speaking, getting ready for bed voice really has the voice of Pittsburgh. She says, "Yin's kids better get to bed before Sandy comes down here tonight and leaves Yin's no gifts." Literally says this before she refuses to give her son a glass of water. And then he says, "May I tell Father good night?" Let me tell you, in 1963, fathers never put their kids to bed. They probably didn't even speak to them. Most dads were in the mill and then they went drinking afterwards. Anne wonders, did Santa get that letter we sent him? We then see the letter, which is inside the glove of Kris Kringle himself. So, yes, yes, little girl, Santa has received your letter. Santa sits in a mid century bachelor pad with a large leather lazy boy. It seems like nothing you've ever seen in any Christmas story, much less a Santa who we find out has a magical helicopter. And Nell's like Toby, who responds to his commands by literally saying, "Your words are my command, Santa." Little weird. Is it any wonder that Santa lives in a capitalist society where he himself rules over the proletariat eternal children, commanding on a whim to fly to the Steel City to pick up two strange children and brag about his toy empire? Santa's actual location is a store called The Famous. I found out about this from the Tube City Online website. It's on the corner of Fifth and Market in McKeesport. At one point, McKeesport was the center of industry and shopping. Today, you can charitably call it a ghost town, and it's the highest rating city in the U.S. for syphilis. The Holiday Village was on the ground floor of what is now gone and was called the Penn McKee Hotel. All of this is gone, and honestly, if I were you, I would never go to McKeesport. I lived there. It is charitably rough. is a nice way of saying it. The crazy thing is the parade that's in this, I recognized it. In my other life outside of advertising and talking about movies, I was a pro wrestler for about 26 years. And the rookies for the company I worked for used to all have to go on the McKeesport Christmas parade route. I'm laughing just thinking about it on the float. It was like at 8 in the morning on Saturday morning. We had to carry a banner and we had to throw candy to kids. And the kids were so bad at McKeesport, they would whip it back at you and try to hit you in the face. It's called paying for dues. Paying your dues, I should say. There's also a scene in this where Santa arrives on the Gateway Clipper. If you live in Pittsburgh, the Gateway Clipper is a big deal. You get to ride a boat around the city and you see the city. He also later arrives on a rocket ship at the 1-year-old Olympia Shopping Center, which now has an Ollie's in it and a lot of other closeout stores, a gigantic Family Dollar. Uh, KFC is still there, several check cashing places, a beer distributor, a state store in PA. We have to go to a distributor to buy our booze because they don't trust us. A couple more check cashing places, and it's a pretty rundown area. But at this point, Walnut Street was gorgeous. But this film is filled with terror. I mean, beyond getting to see how great McKeesport once was, you find out that Santa likes to make dolls that are fun to wash, to dress, and to spank. The little boys are bored by dolls, and when little girls play house, they cook and scrub the whole day long, and then serve their husband a TV dinner. Now, Dick may be a budding holiday monster. As he watches a train set, he asks Santa, Santa, do these trains ever wreck? And Santa just looks and nods, and Dick can barely contain himself and reply, saying, Gosh, that's fun. No, no wrecks today. As Dick and Ann prepare to leave Santa's kingdom, Santa realizes the reason for the season. I mean, the war on Christmas that is currently underway and we're all casualties in had not yet been started, and the man who is given the dignitary title of St. Nick says, So glad you came, kids. The entire Christmas celebration was to commemorate the birth of Jesus Christ, hundreds of years ago, the wonderful spirit of Christmas. That ensures that line. The reason it's in this movie is there are so many Catholic schools through Allegheny County that Clem Williams would get the rent this to them because they could say, hey, Santa explained the reason for the season. There was also no separation of church and state, really, right? In 1963, and that's when everything was perfect, and this wasn't yet when we took prayer out of schools. Anyway, this is the point where the film descends into Lynchian madness, decades before that actually existed. It's a Hammond organ. You know the kind, if you're old enough, you remember when you walk through the mall and there would be an organ store and some maniac would just play the organ all day? That's what it sounds like, and it kicks into full holiday hysteria as the man playing Santa just stares at the screen and keeps saying, Merry Christmas, doll, Merry Christmas. He says it at least 25 times, even to the point that they've shut the microphone off, and he just keeps staring a hole into your soul, saying, Merry Christmas. There's also a side in here that Santa has become so fat that he can no longer fit into chimneys. This is a movie made for kids about Santa to make them happy. This movie fat shames the man who gives of himself once a year to make every child happy. Finally, at one point, the parade goes past what is now a Dollar General on Walnut Street, the same place that 2 years ago that a Santa display had him holding a gun and a baseball bat, and it said Merry Christmas, McKeesport. Yes, McKeesport still puts on a Salute to Santa parade every year. Watch your face. Those kids have great aim. Hey, I'm Sam. Thanks for listening to BNS About Movies. I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. I hope you get all sorts of movies in the mail. I hope that you get some cool t-shirts. I hope that you get a chance to watch something cool, even if it's a Wonderful Life. Watch the cut that's on Tubi that literally cuts out all the supernatural stuff. Maybe that one, just like this, was intended to send to Catholic schools.